Hey, it's Anthony from GLAAD. Dustin, very nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Laurent, nice to meet you. Dustin, I loved the film so much, but I first want to, ask how you're feeling, how you're doing. I know you're on the mend and in recovery.
Yeah, no, it's a slow process, but um, better, feeling a little better every week in these morning hours. I'm sharp for a few hours and then it fades. But it's been really heartening. All of the people who've reached out, not just to say, "Hey, hope you feel better," but also say, "Hey, I've been there. You're going to be back. Be patient with yourself," and because it is distressing to lose the full capabilities of what's between my ears is debilitating. So but I'm getting back. I'm getting back. Thank you for asking.
Of course. And I mean, what a time to deal with a challenge. You have this big premiere of this important documentary that I loved so much. So let's start talking about it because it's such an important story. I mean, obviously, you wrote this in a book, in a memoir a couple years ago, but putting it together, as a film documentary is a completely different situation. How did you handle going back into, a very emotional but inspiring story that's about you and your mom?
Well, I'll just kick it off, but I'll let Laurent answer it because the truth is, I done as best I could to be as candid as possible, both about my mother's history, which is tough, and my own, which is also a little frightening in the book. And when Laurent got in touch and said he wanted to make a documentary about it, I was, incredibly touched and flattered because I'm a huge fan of his work. And I said, I don't want to be a producer. I don't want to be creatively involved in that sort of directorial way at all because I trust you and I think it needs your objectivity. So I really just trusted myself in Laurent's hands, and I will say I feel like that trust was incredibly well placed.
Yeah, Laurent, he said, you reached out, you felt like this was something that needed to be taken from the pages of this memoir, brought to the screen. I'm so glad that you did. But what was it about, this story that you felt like, you wanted to be a part of telling it?
Well, it's interesting. I read the book, and even though I grew up in France, completely different background and upbringing, different decade altogether, I immediately related to it. It spoke to me in such a deep, profound way. And I was looking for a new project, something completely different from what I had been doing. And I wanted to tell a story that spoke to me as a gay man and could make a difference. And when I read Lance's book, I felt, oh my God, if I can relate to this, a lot of other people are going to be able to relate to it. So I contacted Lance, and the important thing for me was the book, starts off as this micro story in this little kitchen, and I wanted to recreate that, and that's where we started filming. And the story gets bigger and bigger, where we were cramped in that little kitchen, and we ended up on the Hollywood Hills with drone footage. And I felt, wow, this is this epic story that happened to this one person. Everything that is happening in America right now is summarized in this one man. And I just felt that this story needs to be told on this scale and in a way that will hopefully speak to everyone, and help dialogue, particularly between within families, because at the core of it, I realized this is about family, and we all have one. So anyway, so that's what really attracted me to this.
No, I so appreciate that. And I've already seen it. I'm lucky, but I honestly can't wait to watch it with my mom. Like, I'm so excited to
Oh,
sit down and yeah, it's going to be so good. But like, I think, Dustin, I feel like I knew obviously a lot about you, but this really tells the whole story. And I think you went through so many things, and your mom had challenges, you had challenges. And then it's like, flash forward to you on the Oscar stage winning and having that amazing moment. How did you find yourself able to just succeed and keep going when life just kept putting a challenge in your way for many years when you were growing up?
Well, I mean, I was, listen, I don't see it as, I don't know what other people go through. And frankly, there's a lot of people who go through a lot more challenges than I have even. So, you know, it's like, it's all relative, I suppose. But if you're raised by a woman who is paralyzed from the chest down, abandoned by her husband with a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, never had a job, never driven a car, like had been told she could never have kids, would never fall in love, and she conquers all of that. Well, imagine like me waking up saying, "Oh, I just can't face it today, Mom." She'll look at you and go, "Oh, really?" You know, I mean, yeah, that seems hard. Let me tell you about hard. So, you know, I grew up with everything in a kind of perspective, like, you know, you gotta not let the tough stuff get you down.
No,
And
that's, yeah.
I've had tough stuff, but a lot of people have had it even tougher. And, you know, I just want to like say, as queer people, because there'll be this criticism, and it's right. You know, we're all really busy in the LGBTQIA community trying to figure out who we are and define our differences, to define our challenges. You know, and my challenges aren't as great as, say, you know, a trans person of color right now in this country. Let's be real. That's life or death on the streets every day. And I think, yeah, I've investigated my differences and the challenges connected to those. And I know our family members in the queer community are doing the same thing. And that work is incredibly valuable. But I in no way want to say that I somehow deserve a bigger stage and to have my voice heard because I have deeper challenges than others in our community. The goal for our queer family is to define our differences, to shout from the top of the rooftops how we might have it harder and what we need and what we deserve in terms of respect and protection. Do it, define those differences, be loud, be proud, let your freak flags fly. What we cannot continue to do, which I'm afraid we have been doing in the last decade, is letting those differences divide us. And I just would hope we can keep shouting out how we're different and what our own struggles are and what we need, without alienating the L from the G, from the B, from the T, from the Q, I, A. Don't let it happen. Don't let them trick us into losing our power again. We've been there before.
No, very well said. And I think that leads me to my next question for Laurent. I think you said that, you know, this story, so much of it relates to like what's happening in the world right now. What do you hope that people that watch this, you know, whether it's they're watching with their family or by themselves, what do you want them to take away from Mama's Boy?
To have dialogue and to believe in yourself and to really embrace who you are. Again, you know, I think Lance's story is so inspiring, but so relatable on so many levels that it's fascinating to me that there's a little piece of Lance that is a straight mirror into everyone. Again, he had a very singular, very specific upbringing and life, but there is at least one piece of him that speaks for you. And I immediately, that reflection of myself in that story when I read the book convinced me. And you know, when we were filming, I was, if you see Lance crying, I'm crying just as much, because I'm channeling those emotions in a very, very personal way. The crew was crying. It was hard on everybody. I don't want people to think that this was a glamorous, easy film to make. It was quite the opposite. And it was very humbling for me as a director to really nurture my relationship with Lance as he was reliving harrowing moments of his childhood and his upbringing and all of those things that are so difficult to talk about. And so his courage really inspired me and as a filmmaker. And as I was filming, I was just, oh my God, if I'm emotional and I know the story now, and we're dealing with technical stuff, and we're traveling, and my brain could be in so many different places. I was like, I know that I have this incredible story, and that hopefully people watching it, like you said, with their parents, with their kids, will see that little sliver of mirror just reflecting.
Yeah, I felt it. I mean, I have to wrap, but I do want to say that I was so happy that your mom got to meet Tom, before she passed. What do you think, if she were able, and she was still here and she could see this beautiful tribute and this story that you made for her, what do you think she would think of it?
I think she'd be furious with me. I think she would say, those are our family secrets. She's a Southern woman. She didn't like me talking about her braces and her crutches. She didn't like having that be seen. She wanted to be judged on the content of her character and the strength of that, and not her disability. And I think we as queer people will identify with that. And but I also think that wherever she is now, and she's absolutely in my heart, she'll see the value, which was what she taught me. Share space with people you disagree with. We're not doing that in the world right now. Share space with the people you disagree with. Start with your family, because you can't let it fall apart. And maybe that'll help rebuild community and country, because you're going to figure out that you actually do have more in common than your political disagreements. And also, as feel-goody as that sounds, it's not. It's very hard. It takes tremendous courage. And I challenge our queer family to start doing that. Reach back out to people disagree with you, and just share space, share story. You don't have to make it a debate. In fact, don't. Even if you're right, share those stories. That's how minds are shifted. That's how hearts are changed. And I think my mom would be so proud that she instilled that in me, and now Laurent's helping share it with the world.
Well, thank you both. I have to wrap, but like I said, it is such a beautiful film. Everyone, you can check it out October 18th on HBO and HBO Max. It's called Mama's Boy. Dustin, so good to see you. Best to you and Tom and the fam. I'm so glad that you're doing well. And Laurent, thank you so much for the time and for helping get this story out into the world.